I've never done this before. I was playing with the settings.
Thank
No,
you.
no.
Okay, everyone, this is Jess. She went to school with Brian Kohlberger at DeSales University. They both studied criminology, just correct me if I'm wrong, which is very local to our area. She lives very, very close to me. I've known her for several years. Her family has known my family for quite, probably like what, over 20 years at least. Yeah, we used to work together at my family's local owned pharmacy. So I reached out to her and she agreed to do an interview with us about Brian Kohlberger. Just so you know, to your right is Ashley, who's true crime creator, Sally, also true crime creator, and Lindsay, true crime creator. And we do have Justin, who will be coming shortly, but he's running a little late today. So is there anything you want to say before I just start asking you questions?
I mean, yeah, I guess if you want, I can give you a little background on
Yeah, that'd be great.
sales. We both were undergrad criminal justice program, but DeSales is super cool. They have different tracks. So he was forensic psych, and I was on the intelligence track. So we didn't cross paths too much in undergrad, but then we both went back for our masters, which was mostly online, but those are small classes, so we had almost everything together. And by that point, my married name put me alphabetically next to him.
So that means you sat next to him at graduation, correct?
Sadly.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a sec.
What year was that? What year did y'all graduate?
I guess a little hazy because I walked before I actually graduated. So that was like even another weird universe thing. I should have walked the following year, but I had one class left. So they were like, you can walk. I think it was 2022 now.
Okay.
Which I guess makes sense since he went to his PhD program.
Yeah.
Lindsay, just so you know, it's telling me that you have one bar. Like the signal is weird. I don't know if it's showing for everyone else, but it's showing that way for me. No. Um, so when you let's sat next to him at graduation, were you like as how close were you? Like, I picture the chairs being like a normal line of chairs. Is it
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that,
So
your arms are touching basically?
yeah, no, but so if anybody's familiar with the PP&L Center here in this area, they use what is normally the hockey arena, and yeah, it's just folding chairs, literally like butt to butt.
Okay. And I saw you posted when he got sentenced, you posted that you had texted your husband saying, "This guy creeps me out."
Yeah.
I saw you post that on Instagram, and that's actually what made me reach out to you. Because Shelby had told me that you not knew him, but knew him.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. So you got a weird vibe from him at graduation.
Always. So he has always kind of made me uncomfortable. And even though most of our classes were online, just something about him was just, I don't even know, called a sixth sense. It never really wanted to answer his discussion board posts, participate in Zoom, things like that. But also, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with now, he's very, very intelligent and has very smart, lot of knowledge about criminal justice. So honestly, I would avoid his answering his discussion board posts too, because they were so detailed. And let's be honest, sometimes I didn't want to spend the amount of time needed to answer his questions or comments or whatever. But it was also because just something, even, you've seen the pictures of him, you've seen his mugshot, his eyes are just, they give you dead eye vibes. So even in his pictures on like our learning platform and stuff, I'm just like, no, this guy is weird. So, and I went back and found this text and screenshotted it. I sent it to my husband after I was sitting next to him. And I was like, oh no, like it's the weird guy. And my text says, I think it says, "This guy makes me so uncomfy." And that was live at graduation when I was sitting next to him. And obviously nothing happened at that point in time.
Sure. And when you were like doing your Zooms and like sort of, I imagine something similar to what we're on right now, where you discuss things with your teacher or whatever, did he like participate and talk intelligently, or did he sound like a weirdo?
Oh, he is so intelligent. He is like one of those teacher's pets that's annoying. Like, you know
Okay.
how you have teacher's pets who are just like good students and are just, nice to teachers, but they could be considered a teacher's pet. He was one of those, like, need to be better than everybody else and show that he has the most knowledge teacher's pet. So it was like annoying in the sense that he would be the one to like ask questions, or when they would say something, he would have to add comments or elaborate or something to show he knew about whatever topic we were talking about.
And when he talks, does he talk like me and you are talking right now, or does he talk? I can imagine him using big words.
Big words, kind of very subtly like talking down on everybody else. And especially when we had female professors, it you could kind of get that vibe even more, like, oh, I'm a man, I just know more.
Wow.
That tracks. That tracks. So I have some just like general more questions about school and how we acted with teachers. You answered some of mine already, but I'll open up to the panel if Sally, Lindsay, or Ashley want to ask you anything. I'm happy to have them ask you anything about the school so far. I'll get into his arrest and all of that, but girls, go ahead, whatever you want to ask. Am I frozen?
No, you're not. I wasn't going to jump ahead of anybody else that might have a question.
I was gonna say I can keep telling more stories if nobody has a question.
Let me
You
go
have
over
one,
some
go
of
ahead.
the comments that, or some of the questions that I've seen in the chat. Somebody wanted to know, did he smell weird?
I don't think so. I don't really remember that. I just didn't want to be next to him at all.
Yeah. And then somebody asked, did he seem like he was more active at nighttime? Like when he, I guess, meaning you could possibly tell from when he posted his discussion boards or responded to discussion boards. Did you ever notice that he seemed to be more active?
Now that you say that, I want to say yes, but also because it was grad school, a lot of our classes were at night until like 9:30 sometimes. So, a lot of people would be doing like discussion board posts immediately afterwards.
Sure. Did he have any OCD tendencies?
Well, as somebody who has diagnosed OCD, that could be totally like misconception. But maybe, I don't know. He seemed like he liked things a certain way.
Mhm.
I was going to ask if you felt that he showed empathy or lack of empathy towards others in class.
I can't say for sure, but like just general like loner vibes, doesn't necessarily care about anybody else. Like he seemed like he was just there to get ahead and kind of get what he wanted out of it, and that's it. And he wanted to do well and have the best grades and best papers and whatever.
Do you think that he had the ability to read a room?
I don't know. That's hard to say too, since we were online. So like technically it was a virtual room. But no, because one of the like stories I was gonna say is like when we were sitting next to each other at graduation, after Allie reached out to me about this, I was kind of thinking back to that more to see what else I could remember. And I remember he had asked me, like, as I'm sitting there, like, kind of trying to ignore him, like, on my phone, texting my husband, whatever, and just waiting for this graduation ceremony to start. He was like, oh, so, like, what are you doing with your degree? And, that's, like, nice small talk you make with people. But I was clearly giving vibes that I was like, please don't talk to me. Like, let's just get through this.
Yeah. And he just wasn't picking up on those.
No.
I've seen several people ask how he was towards women. I don't know if you would be able to answer that, but did you notice any difference in his responses to like the the discussion posts that were posted by females versus males, or
Kind of like I was saying, I think it was very subtle, but you got, and it's hard too because being in criminal justice, generally there is this looking down upon women in the field and that the males are better. But I think definitely a very subtle one where he wanted to prove he was better than everybody else, but as a woman, it did come across as like, I am better than you.
Did you notice that he was more particularly interested in certain types of like cases? And I don't know how many case studies you guys did. I'm sure some as criminology students, but did you notice like a particular interest, or thinking back, do you realize now that he was more specifically geared towards a specific case?
I do think I remember reading one of his discussion board posts once, and I remember it being like paragraphs on paragraphs, and I think it was some sort of murder crime scene type case. And I think similar to that paper, I think it was a senior thesis that he wrote that I know has been all over the news about like breaking down like literally how to get away with murder.
Lindsay, can you talk now?
I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
Yes! Yay! I'm back. Okay.
I don't know what happened. I just turned off the Bluetooth. I was doing everything. I'm like, what the heck? Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you, Jess. That was so rude of me before. I was
Fine.
muted. Can you believe that? My phone had technical difficulties.
go figure.
All right. We can continue.
Lindsay, do you have some questions?
I am just gonna sit back for a second because I feel like I'm so discombobulated after hitting so many buttons. So I'll pop in when I am ready. I want to hear more stories.
Okay, sure.
Somebody in the question has asked a couple of times, is there an internship to the program that you guys did? And if there was, do you know where he landed?
So there is, but what's interesting about their program and cool is you have the option of either, and this was, I think, for undergrad, not for the master's program. You have the option to complete either an internship of a certain number of hours, a thesis, or, oh my gosh, or you could like make up a fake class and teach it to the professors. So I for some reason I want to say he did an internship. I'm not 100% sure though, but I mean, speculating here, but with his personality, he probably wanted to do an internship and get a job and show, look, I'm so smart, I can do this.
So a lot of people are asking about your stories in our chat. So is there one or two that you particularly want to talk about before we talk about when Nimwit over here gets arrested?
I mean, I think it's really interesting going back to our graduation when he asked me what I was doing. I've always kind of known I want to go into emergency management or something like federal government esque. And I remember him being very like weird when I was polite and asked back like what he was going to do next. He was kind of just like, oh yeah, like maybe a federal something. I don't like, very, very weird. Didn't say anything about a PhD program. Didn't seem like he knew what he wanted to do. And I'm like, well, yeah, you're doing something federal now, but it's federal jail.
Yeah, that's for sure. So when he gets arrested, right, all of us locally are like, what the heck? Because we're like right around the corner of Monroe County. But obviously it's a different twist because, you know him. I'm not acting like your best friends, but you know him enough to be like, holy shit, I know this guy. So what is your thoughts? And did you talk to anybody at the sales like, holy shit, did you see Brian got arrested? Or is there anything like that happened?
So yeah, here's this craziness. I remember it was Friday when the news broke that he got arrested because at my current job, I work with resident physicians. Not gonna like totally like dox myself so everybody can find me here. But I work with resident physicians and we were doing like our educational stuff on a Friday like we always do. And I remember I got a text from my brother-in-law, and it was like, or no, I'm sorry, that was the second thing that happened. I got a message on LinkedIn from somebody random, and it was LinkedIn, and they were just like, oh, did you go to DeSales University? And I was like, I responded and was like, yeah, because I thought it was like, I don't know, some like recruiter for a job. And then it was kind of weird, and this person was like, oh, did you know Brian Koberger? And I was like, yeah, like I graduated with him. And I thought they were just asking because I don't know, maybe they wanted a reference for a job and they just saw I had DeSales in my profile. And I don't know. I don't even know what I was thinking. And I was like going back and forth with this reporter or whatever, didn't realize it was a reporter. And then my brother-in-law had texted me and was like, hey, like my friend just called me, blah, blah, blah. And then he said something about Brian. And at that point, I'm like, what is happening? This is weird. So all my residents start coming like into the conference room. And then one of them was like, Jess, did you see what happened? I was like, no. And they mentioned it. And I was like, that's so weird. I have no idea. Like, yeah, I think I graduated with him. We sat next to each other at graduation. Like, that's it. And nobody quite knew what happened yet, just that he was arrested. So I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. And within minutes, I was getting like texts and calls from news agencies. And I'm like, how did they find me so fast? And I immediately called my one former professor mentor who is a detective for one of the local police departments, because at that point I was like, what do I do? I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, I don't like at that point, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen with him. I don't want to like retaliation. So I called him and he was like legally, like you can talk to them if you wanted to, but I'm like, I don't want to say something and like mess something up or like throw someone at the university under the bus or whatever. And then I also texted one of my other professors who just really good person, still worked at the university. And I'm like, help, what do I do? And they were all just like, don't talk to anybody. Like, just ride it out. Let's see what happens and what comes out with the news. And so we did. And then that was when we found out it was for suspected murder. And we were like, it was insane, literally insane. I still can't fathom everything that happened in like the week after that. I remember, I think a reporter showed up at my house, which made me very uncomfortable because I'm very like, keep my information private. So I'm like, how did you find my house? So I even called our local police and had them doing like extra drive-bys because I wasn't home. They left a note under my doorknob, like in my doorknob. I'm like, this is too much.
Yeah, because when I had reached out to Shelby after you had posted, you know, your thing up with your husband, I had messaged her and she said, hey, you know, I don't know that she's going to do it. I think she's been quote unquote harassed from these people. And I was like, well, I'm not going to harass her. I just want to know if she's interested. And then you had said yes. And I was like, oh, I feel so honored. So thank you for coming on. I know that it's not fun to talk about somebody who unalived 4 people. So we appreciate it. Us true crimers on the side are very interested in Brian Kohlberger. So
I think the difference is now too, like before when everyone was contacting me, he wasn't sentenced or anything. They were still looking for evidence, all of that. And I'm like, okay, if you're going to come back into the world at some point or you're going to have parole or whatever, like I don't want this to come back on me at all. But I'm like, okay, you have 4 life sentences without parole. Now I'm like, we're good.
We're going to talk. I have a question if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
When I was bopping in and out, I don't know if you touched on this, but did he ever talk about himself ever? Like, did he give you narcissistic vibes? Did he ever let you in on anything about him? Or was he just kind of like a creepy lurker, kind of?
Creepy lurker. I mean, maybe with some people he did, but I talked to one of my other classmates who I'm still like friends with on social media who did the Amazon Prime documentary, and she had more classes with him and stuff. But I think generally, like, he was just kind of there.
Oh, that's creepy. Does he really have those like really creepy sunken in eyes that like you look at someone? Because I've actually passed someone before where it looks like they have the most soulless, creepy eyes, and it gives you like the heebie-jeebies. Is he like that in real life, or is he more like he just looks like a weirdo?
I mean, I think that's what probably creeped me out to begin with, because like I didn't know much about him except that he did really long in-depth answers and stuff, and we had classes together. But I think it was his general, like, what he put off into the universe, his look, all of that added to it.
So when you heard this, you're like, I'm not surprised that he's capable of this, but kind of.
I mean, surprising in the sense that, and I think like Dr. Ramsland said the same thing when she did her interview. Most of us who go into this field are going in it to do good, positive things. We're not going into it to, murder people or learn how to get away with it. So you just don't expect it. But of all the people, I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, like most of the other people you go to school with, like, they're going to be a cop, or they're going to do this, or they're just your friend or whatever. He was just, you never really knew about him.
Interesting.
And some of your classmates did documentaries on, well, there's been a slew released since this all happened. So do you know some of those people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, some of them I did undergrad master's program with. Actually, one of them I went to high school with too. I think he's pretty big here on TikTok. I don't know his handle or anything, but he has turned his entire TikTok into like a true crime thing on Brian Kohlberger.
That's crazy.
People were also asking if you were in the same class as am I saying this right? Dr. Ramsdale?
So I never took any of her classes, but she was actually my advisor my freshman year and Brian Kohlberger's advisor. So we might have even crossed paths there, but at that point, freshman year, we're just trying to survive. So I don't remember that far back at that point, but we had the same advisor for at least a year before I changed my track a little bit.
And am I gathering this correctly? So you graduated with him in 2022, which is the same year that everything happened. So how long was he going to school for his PhD, and did he do this simultaneously as he was going to school?
Just started. He was still in the PhD program. He wasn't in the master's program because obviously that was here in Pennsylvania and that didn't happen yet. So that was May of 2022, and I don't remember when this all happened in 2022 fall.
It was November. Yeah,
November.
Okay, so he maybe did one semester of his PhD.
Mm-hmm.
And you had mentioned previously, but we have some new people here, that when he asked you at graduation, like, oh, what are you doing with your future or your degree? He didn't mention anything about like going to do a PhD in Washington or anything like that.
Especially across the country too. And he's from this area, so that would have been like kind of significant.
Yeah, big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, he lives fairly close to you and I in the area. I mean, 30-ish minutes. And
he's actually very close to my parents too.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I know where they moved. Your mom had told me. So yeah, he is pretty close. And especially where you grew up too. It's not that far. It's like 30 minutes.
Everything right now, it's like all 30 minutes.
Do you know if, this is a really weird question, I don't know if you know the answer. Do you know if he stayed on campus for his undergrad and his master's, like as a live-in resident, or did you know if he could
undergrad? I don't know. For his master's, probably not, since it was all online. And now that you say, I wonder what he was doing during his master's, because most of us had full-time jobs.
Somebody was asking if you thought that he was capable of doing this by himself, if you thought he was capable at all.
I mean, I can't see him working with somebody else or trusting, just from what I know about him and what I've read with all the case and everything. I can't see him being comfortable enough to plan this with somebody else unless like it was, I don't know, like a family member maybe. And I know some of the stuff with some of his family members is kind of odd with this case. So who knows?
Yeah, I've heard some things as well.
Did did you ever see him with his family, like at graduation or anything? I know there was probably a bajillion million people there, so I didn't know. And
No,
obviously,
and I was just trying to, get out of there. I was like, and you know how graduation ceremonies are. They're
Yeah.
unnecessarily long, always. I was like, all right, let's just do this. Let's be done.
yeah, it's your second time, obviously.
Somebody I
So-
thought had a good question. Tara has been saving a lot of them from the chat, so thank you, Tara. And one of them says, I know that you find him creepy, or I know that he was creepy to you, but did you find him interesting to listen to at all?
I think reading his discussion board post it was very interesting because you could tell how smart he was. But then as somebody who was working, full time and doing class at night and all of that, I read them. They were interesting, but not interesting enough for me to want to respond to them and take the time.
When you did see him in person, did you see him in person often?
Not often, but occasionally.
Was he like freaky germaphobe, like sanitizer, washing his hands, like anything obvious to you? Because obviously that was like a big thing and currently is apparently a big thing in prison right now. Nancy Grace just announced that he's allegedly appealing like 3 hours ago. So that he would like wash his hands or like be weird about touching stuff at the, in the classrooms or anything like that.
Not that I can remember, and that was also undergrad when I would have seen him was pre-COVID, so it could have even developed, from COVID or from leaving a knife sheath at a crime scene. You never know.
Yeah.
Were you actually shocked? Sorry, Allie.
No,
Go ahead.
it was
No,
asked.
you're good. AD. Sorry.
No, you're good, babe. Go ahead. I'm just reading off a thing, so you're going by memory.
Were you shocked that he was so sloppy and left a sheath behind especially because you guys all went to school and
Yes.
studied criminology?
Yes. And the fact that he wrote a paper about literally how to commit the perfect crime, and then he didn't commit the perfect crime, which, let's be real, most of them are never going to be perfect. But of all things, a knife sheath, you'd think you'd remember to get that. Or honestly, don't even bring a knife sheath with you.
I know, right?
One more thing to remember.
I know.
Yeah. I don't know why it reminds me of like cleaning fish or something. Like you just hook it to your side when you're going fishing.
Yeah.
And speaking about like cleaning, AD, you just like made me think of something. How do you think he got out of that house? Now, you guys, I was reading in the book, I was reading the James Patterson book about how there was a house that you guys could go to and like solve crimes, right? Was that at your school that you guys had together?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you think he got out of there not making such a big mess,
I mean,
but being so sloppy at the same time, right?
I mean, I feel like, and this is just from stuff I've even, read about the case at this point, but it's interesting when you think about, like you're saying, we had the crime scene house. He was forensic psych, so I took a crime lab class, so you learn about, blood splatter, all of that stuff. But yeah, so I feel like he got so in the moment with everything, and I know they said like they're surprised that and I mean, thank goodness he didn't, but killed other two roommates and stuff like that. It seems like he just got so caught up in the crime that while he thought of certain things, he was then like, oh, I gotta get out of there.
That's wild.
Which it's crazy to me. I think that the crime itself happened in 14 minutes. So the whole thinking process also on top of that is like, how much time did he have to think in between the actual acts itself?
Right. And obviously they were so violent too. So quick and so violent.
Yeah. Another question that was asked, I think multiple times, was and I know a lot of the time that you guys were in class, it was online, but was there ever mention of any animals, his feelings towards animals, or liking, disliking?
I don't think so, but as somebody who did this for school and then also works with psychiatrists now, they're really good at hiding that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
heard
and I
today
think
that.
one-
Oh, go ahead, Allie. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm being
No,
a
you're
chatty
fine.
Cathy tonight.
You're fine. I just think that the way he's depicted, and I'm happy to hear this from you, Jess, the way he's depicted online and on TV and on, the books and everything is actually the way he was before the crime. And I hate to say it like that, but that's the way he is. So that's him as a person. It's not like the crime changed him, because oftentimes you see people, particularly in our field, where they're charged with something and then they become, that process is so stressful in itself. They may say or do something that makes them out of character, but it's sort of sounding like Brian Kohlberger had this character throughout his life, or from the time you at least knew him.
And I mean, even when he was at his sentencing, he didn't speak. He just was stoic. He was there. And that's kind of
Oh yeah.
how he generally was.
Was he did he have to be called on, or did he insert himself?
He inserted himself because I think he wanted people to know he was the smartest one in the room.
Okay, that tracks. Go ahead, Lynn. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I had just heard that Bill Thompson had done an interview recently saying that they think Kohlberger snuck into that house and knew the ins and outs of that house and did the my dog might bark, guys, sorry. He knew the ins and outs. He was being a total creep. That way he could get this done so quickly. We know that he was kind of OCD and weird. Does that go with his personality? He wants to be a know-it-all. He wants to be perfect. Your interactions with him, was that to the T him?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, from what I saw, it was a college house. They threw parties there and stuff. So it makes sense that he would have had a reason to go there and
trying to scope things out.
Can you imagine being at a college? Sorry, go ahead, Sally.
No, I just saw a question. It was a good question. They asked, did he ever empathize with any other unalivers? So any ones that you guys discussed in school, do you ever remember him justifying what they did or empathizing with them?
I don't think so, but also with him being forensic psych, they would have done a lot more of that kind of stuff in the classes I wasn't in with him. But just the fact alone that, yes, it was local, but it makes you wonder that he chose the program and the degree that Dr. Ramsland primarily oversaw. And she's I think it was 7 years she did interviews with the BK killer. And I also think it's interesting to have the same initials, but
yeah, that's very odd. Somebody asked a good question in the chat that said, how did other classmates perceive him? I'm assuming the answer is the same as you did, but
yeah,
you can answer that.
Yeah, not at the time, we didn't really talk about it then, but now after the fact, and like I said, my one friend who did the Prime documentary and stuff, she and I were going back and forth, and we were saying the same thing, creepy loner vibes, but never necessarily thought he was going to go commit a crime.
Yeah.
I just have a curious question. This is obviously just going to be straight from your opinion, but your opinion and being in class and knowing what he studied, and then maybe hearing today, I don't know if it's your first time hearing today, where Nancy Grace goes and says that he's plotting an appeal. Does that surprise you? Do you think that somebody who knows as much as he does and as smart as he is, do you think that the plea was just some kind of plot? Because why would somebody just lay down and say, you know what, just take me away, instead of let's go to trial and see what happens? What is your opinion on that, knowing him and how he thinks?
I think it makes sense because, again, he wrote, the paper about how to get away with the perfect crime. And then he initially pled not guilty. I think he just truly believes that he can somehow get out of this.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Dr. Ramsland, as all of us know, maybe the chat doesn't know, is like a world-renowned, right, criminal psychologist and studies the BK unaliver and people of that nature. So I can't help but think, like as you said, Jess, did he enter the program thinking like in 5 years when I'm done this degree, I'm going to learn everything I can from Dr. Ramsland and then try to do it myself? Like, I hate to think that way, but it's like, is that what he was thinking? I mean, we'll never know, but that's crazy.
Well, I think, again, he wanted to show how smart he was. He wanted to show his knowledge, his intelligence, all of that. So I think part of me thinks, yeah, he wanted the notoriety, and because I know Dr. Ramsland has said she would love to, now work with him now that he's in prison. I almost wonder if that was, I mean, of course, his probably initial end goal is to get away with it, but now that he hasn't, is okay, I want to be so notorious that Dr. Ramsland writes a book about me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Do you think he was Papa Roger?
No idea.
Somebody also asked, this is going to sound silly, but it was a question that was asked. What did you think about him and his rap song? Did you know about the rap song?
No.
I didn't think you did. People said, what is the deal with his rap song again? Do you know, Allie?
He just did a YouTube video. I didn't even know about it until Olivia Gonzalez put it in her statement. I'm like, why is she talking about a rap? The only thing worse than you are is a rapper or something. I'm like, what? And so I started Googling Brian Kohlberger rap video or rapper, and it comes up and it's like him on YouTube rapping. It's alarming. It's not like scary. It's just hilarious. He sounds horrible. But a lot of people, I guess, didn't know about that.
No.
That came out very, very early, and then it wasn't discussed again. So, yeah. And I saw somebody say that the police said he wasn't Papa Roger. I think what they actually said is that they didn't find any proof that he was, but there was also no proof that he wasn't. But there's a lot of proof in this case that they didn't find. So I'm still not convinced that it wasn't him.
Me too. Yeah. So another good question that somebody had, kind of to piggyback off that, is any thoughts on his refusing to allocate? Like, if he was the one who did this, why wouldn't he want credit for it?
I do think it's interesting, but I also think he didn't want to get caught, so he doesn't want to dig himself deeper into a hole, even though obviously it doesn't matter at this point. He has 4 life sentences. The hole's not getting any deeper. But I think at this point he is going to wait for that notoriety, that I'm going to talk to Dr. Ramsland. And I think, and I might be like generalizing here, but like, like sociopaths, psychopaths, like they want, like, okay, I want the attention from this specific person in this specific way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, would it be a correct assumption to assume that he idolized Dr. Ramsland?
Oh, most definitely.
Okay. And obviously he idolized people like BK, and not himself, but like massive unalivers. And we heard about some Ted Bundy stuff and things of that nature. But Dr. Ramsland obviously isn't an unaliver. Sorry, we have to use TikTok words. She obviously doesn't, she teaches about it, and she's like a world-renowned psychologist. It's just odd to me. It's almost like he wants to be her, but also be one of them. It's like, it's the brain of that is just so odd to me. But I don't know, I'm just spitballing, but it's almost like you got to pick one. You can't be a criminal and then have somebody study you, or you can't study criminals. Like, you can't be both, if I'm making sense.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to get real crazy and almost like we're in a literal TV show, it makes you wonder if he wanted to like actually get away with crimes and then like be the one solving them.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
it's really
I'll go
wild
down
because
the
it's
conspiracy
like,
theory rabbit hole all day.
yeah, it's so weird, like, to think about his mindset. It's like he wants to be the perfect criminal, but he also wants to be like a Dr. Ramsland. It's like you can't have it both ways, buddy. You can't. So, interesting. Do I was waiting for Justin to get on, but I don't know if he's going to get on. Does anybody have a question, or anybody in the chat? You answered almost all of mine by just chatting with us, because most of them were like, was he respectful of his professors? Think like, but you answered most of those, or somebody else asked you them.
Someone just said, do you think he took the classes to try to avoid getting caught and avoid everything?
Now knowing what we
Yeah.
know, for sure.
Georgia said,
You learn a lot of things on how to do illegal things in these classes by learning how to catch people who do the illegal things.
When this first came out, I always thought, like, once his story kind of came out, I was thinking, did he think that even if he did get caught, they were going to let him off? And it was going to be like a game to him of, could he beat the system because he took the classes? Because he's so, a sociopath.
yeah, it's like you don't really hear of much unalivers having such a high level of education that he does, particularly studying in the same field. That's I think also what makes this case so unique. Which I hate to say that, because it's tragic is what it is, but
You're spot on,
that's
though.
what he wants you to say, is that it's unique.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I just fell into his dumbass trap. But it is, because you don't hear that stuff. I know I've seen a bunch of creators not call him by inmate, whatever his number is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for example. And I'm like, I can't remember those numbers, but no one wants to give him attention, which I agree. But I have a question for you. Do you think, or is there any chatter in your DeSales group that he is going to potentially do a book or a movie or something of that nature?
I mean, you'd have to certainly find somebody who'd be like willing to work with him. So I don't know if he will do one, but I could see something at least loosely based off of this coming out of it, or even Dr. Ramsland herself writing a book about it. Because obviously she
I feel
probably
like
has the most unique perspective on it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
somebody was asking about if he ever talked about his family, and I know that you mentioned that since you lived close to the family, maybe you knew some of his siblings. Did he talk about his siblings?
No, I actually didn't know he was from the area until all of this came out, because then I was like, oh, he grew up like within half an hour of like where my parents live now, not even. I'm like, oh, wonder if we've ever, I mean, my parents didn't move up there until like after I was done with college, but I was like, did we ever cross paths? But at that point he was probably out in Washington. But with his family, I probably have crossed paths, or they have, or somebody somewhere. I think he commuted for at least part of his degree, so I'm sure at some point.
I know he really didn't have any like besties, or like really a lot of friends, but did you ever like have assignments with like in your class where it's like, hey, me and you, Jess, we got to write a discussion board post together, or we got to talk about a crime together, or did you ever get like partnered up?
No, it was just like, and I don't know how familiar, everybody is with online classes now, or like discussion board posts are usually you just have to pick 2 to answer. So, and you could kind of pick at random, and going back to what I was saying, I would avoid picking his. I might read them because they're interesting, but I wouldn't answer them.
Would he like debate with people on those?
Oh yeah.
And you said
like
they were
you normally weren't required to like respond after somebody responded to you unless you wanted to. And from when I remember like looking back at them, he would almost always respond and like more paragraphs. I'm like, I don't have the time or energy for this.
I wonder what he did on his spare time besides study. Like, I feel like the man didn't do anything besides leave his bedroom. That's the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but
Yeah, you would know, but
So I know that you mentioned people like finding you after the fact and reaching out to you somehow, some way, connecting the two. Um, has anybody within that realm, since this has happened, come to you with any stories about him or things like if they were close to him and knew anything about him, like brought anything to your attention after the fact?
not really, because I think most people had similar interactions with him as I did. And I avoided a lot of this stuff until he got sentenced because I didn't know it was going to happen. I didn't want retaliation, or I didn't want it to affect like my future job prospects by being like, oh, like she can't keep like confidentiality or anything like that. But now that, this is a little more finalized, but most people had the same interactions, if any.
So were the people who were coming and asking you questions kind of like the same questions that we're asking here, just kind of picking your brain on what
Yeah.
you thought his mentality was, how he presented himself, how he treated other people, read a room, et cetera, et cetera?
Pretty much, yeah. And I'd only answer like questions and stuff for like people I knew. And now it's as morbid as it is, and obviously this is a tragic, awful incident. It's my fun fact that I sat next to and I'll use the TikTok word so we don't get in trouble, an unalive at graduation.
Oh, I love it. You got to learn the language.
it's crazy because like I know other people throughout the community because where we live it's very small and tight knit that have come up to me and is like, oh yeah, I know him, or I've heard of his family, or I went to school with his sister because it's so close to us, like not the unalivings but where we grew up. So like I'm sure there's other people from my high school, you're just a little bit younger than me, but where we both went to high school that know him, or his family at least. So it's like crazy to think that these people are like in our backyards, but you never know. I mean, we all just heard about another quadruple unaliving that just happened. I mean, it's not in our backyard, but it's in somebody's backyard. So it's crazy. It's
I think the notoriety that this case got for like the people in the area is really unbelievable.
Do we
Yeah,
think that
it
this
will.
is the only crime that he's committed, or do we think that there's others and he just hasn't been connected to them?
I wonder if there's others personally, or like people are saying like the animals and stuff. I'm sure there's more than what we know about, because how would he have planned this the way that he did without practicing in some way?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the thought process and the studying that went into what he did is sort of like unheard of because he did it so quickly. He knew the house, he studied criminology, like he checked every single box off to do the perfect crime, which then leaves the main weapon behind, which makes yours. And sometimes I wonder, and I don't know if you've thought of this, Jess, or anybody on the panel thought of this, did he do that on purpose?
I've thought that.
Like there's no way he does that and forgets that item.
Right? That's
not on purpose. I don't know.
And with him wanting attention, fame, whatever, and clearly he's not in his right mind.
Someone keeps asking in class when he would argue his points, was he aggressive with those arguments or was he more passive?
I wouldn't say he was outright aggressive, but definitely very firm. He wasn't swayed easily, even if you brought up good counter arguments.
Right.
Yeah, I could see that. I have a weird question. Whenever you saw him in person, what kind of clothes did he wear? If you can remember.
Very plain, if I remember correctly. And I think, I wouldn't say stylish, I wouldn't say out of style either, but very plain.
like preppy or like casual?
Casual t-shirt. I mean, even for graduation. I mean, of course, people dress up nice for graduation, but I distinctly remember he had like a full suit on
Oh.
for graduation. And like, you know, some people do wear suits, but most people wear like like men wear a shirt and a tie, maybe not a jacket.
So he had on the whole like prom attire here.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
Me either.
It doesn't surprise me, especially if he is on the spectrum of some way, shape, or form. It doesn't surprise me at all. It's actually pretty fitting, if you will.
Someone's asking each one of us, how long do we think he planned the crime? Or do y'all think he's not guilty? Is there anyone on the panel, AD, you have your doubts?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Not like not guilty, but I just have doubts. I just have doubts around just the whole case itself in terms of why would you typically I know he has studied every document that has come across this case through and through, and I know that he knows the evidence, or like I like to say, lack thereof, because I'm sorry, it's just my opinion. I think that there is lack of evidence in this case, and it is evident that it is not hard evidence that the sheath only had touch DNA on it, and that's quite literally the only thing linking him to the crime besides his supposed car being in the area, and then the theory that he took back roads going home but not coming in. I don't know. I think it's a lot of circumstantial, and with him being as smart as he is, that's where my head starts to spin a little bit.
It is a lot of circumstantial.
I also think it's really interesting that they knocked the house down before he was like fully sentenced or went to trial or whatever. I've got a lot of questions about that and why that was allowed.
Me too, because there was literally a motion put in for them not to touch that house in the beginning because of all of the evidence, or just because it's a scene at the end of the day. I mean,
it wasn't even a trial yet and the house was gone.
I thought that was weird too.
Okay.
I'm a visual person. If I'm on a jury, if this went to trial, I would want to walk the house. I would need to see exactly what they believe happened, how he did it, how it happened, time it, just like anyone else. But I do believe he's guilty,
to find
guys.
more evidence to prove him not guilty. You would think they'd want to go back or whatever.
Yeah.
I think he's guilty, but there's something else that we don't know. What it is, I don't know. Another person, another evidence, another weapon. I'm sorry, TikTok. But I do think he's guilty. I just, to what extent? That's my thing.
After reading the book, I feel like what has kind of like sold me in on this is that I think he's been in the house before. I think he knew exactly what he was going to do. He was very OCD. What really creeped me out was people talking about when he was a little boy, he would be like in the trees, in the woods, constantly hiding. I don't know if you guys read the book at all, the James Patterson one.
No, I didn't read it.
But his neighbors were like, oh, we figured out that when we would leave, he would actually get into their house quickly. He was able to steal things, get out of the house. At one point, they wouldn't even tell on him because they felt bad for his family. But he was able to like get in, get out, untouchable. So now that I have that understanding, this doesn't shock me at all that he did this, and very fast. But I think it was completely planned. Like, I do believe what Bill Thompson said, that he probably, while they were sleeping, mapped this shit out in there. And there I go with a conspiracy theory. But truly, like, after hearing people that had legitimate experiences with him, the neighbors, it's wild. It's wild.
So you think the book is worth it?
I think the book is worth it.
I was just going to say that.
I think it's going to take you a couple minutes to get through the beginning. Once you get through the beginning of it, because it's kind of like a little bit boring, but then if you're as invested as we are, then it's worth it. If you are not as invested, my mom is listening to this and she's like, I thought it was really good. She was also very invested. You just have to get through the very beginning. And some of the beginning is these neighbor stories. So people that don't really know the case might be like, why is that interesting? But then it makes sense that he could be capable of doing something like this.
Did you read it, Jess?
No, I didn't even know it existed. I'm gonna have to now.
Yeah, James Patterson wrote a book about it. I think it was released recently, right? Maybe like two months ago or something. It's pretty recent, but apparently, and Lindsay might be able to verify this, but there's like exclusive interviews in there, and I'm guessing they're from neighbors and people like that. Maybe some of your classmates.
I don't want to like ruin it, but I personally think it was good. I think it answered like a few questions that I had in my brain of stuff like this, like odd questions of how could he do it? He just had a lot of weird habits that other people picked up on. And I also think it's crazy. You guys already know, because I told you that he could get into people's houses, no problem, take things, and he was extremely manipulative.
Lindsay, what is the title of the book?
Actually, let me open up I have my Kindle with me. I sound like an old lady over here. Hold on. Let me open it.
Idaho Four and American.
The Idaho Four, yes.
Thank you, Melissa.
I like it I thought it's just an easy read. I think you'll find it super interesting.
Yeah, James Patterson, you could have reached out to me.
Right. Rude that he didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he didn't was one of the things I ignored. Who knows?
Thoughts, Sally?
Do what?
What? About the crime?
Oh, I was saying Sally.
Oh,
yeah,
Sally.
Thoughts on like where you stand.
The whole thing that I did yesterday.
Well, I mean, I was sure that it was him from, early on, but then I talked to Michael and he has so many questions and I'm like rethinking it all in my head, like lots of good points that, probably should be considered. I mean, honestly, I don't understand why he did not want to go to trial because there really is no evidence.
There isn't. That's the mind. I think that's the most mind-boggling thing to me was the fact that he didn't. And it was so all of a sudden, right? It was so all of a sudden that he didn't want to go to trial. But then again, is that a part of his plan? Is that a part of the torture? Is that a part of being in control? Is that all a part of the things that are going on? It's so hard to tell, but nobody just lays down. I don't care if, let's just put it, the case that happened a week ago when the Ollie and Ollie case was happening in Texas, the Delgado case. He's literally on video and he pulls it out and unalives his, ex-wife in her car and he pleads not guilty. And then when they come back with a verdict of guilty, while they're going back to sentence, he's like, I want to basically say, like, I think I should get a second chance at life because she got a second chance at life because she actually ended up living after the fact. But it's like, what?
Yeah,
So
it's ironic that he is so. It's ironic he's so scared of dying when he unalived 4 people.
Yeah.
It's just the whole thing is ironic. But we've got to let Jess go. She has work tomorrow. Any final thoughts from my panel? I just want to say thank you all for my panel. Thank you, Jess. I really appreciate you coming up. I know it was your first interview. You did a great job, and I feel so honored that you picked us to
I don't
interview
want to
with.
say it was fun because I feel like that sounds bad, but it was fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jess.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna stay live. People in my panel can stay on or kick off, but Jess, I don't know how to get you off this.
I don't know either, so I might be here a minute.
I got it.
Okay, thanks.